Hi everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing my quarter one goals check-in and to talk to you guys about quarter two, which is going to be interesting. So if you aren't aware or you're new here, at the end of last year I made my goals video, which I will link up in the cards, and what I decided to do is instead of doing annual goals for my reading this year, I decided to do quarterly goals because what I realized is last year I kind of stopped caring about my big reading goals that I made at the beginning of the year around like the halfway mark. And I noticed that for a number of years, in the second half of the year, I usually stopped caring about the goals that I made at the beginning of the year. And I was always okay with that because, I recognize that my goals change. But I figured that this year, what I would do is I would make quarterly goals and I would sort of assess where I was at the beginning of the quarter or before the beginning of the quarter, and then try to figure out what I wanted in the next quarter. It seemed more realistic and a better way to sort of approach goals for me personally because I didn't ever want to like abandon reading goals, but I knew that my life changes, my priorities change, and so assessing things on a quarterly level would give me enough time to sort of make steps in the direction that I want to be making, as well as give me the time to reflect on those steps and see if that's something I want to continue with or not. So for the first quarter of the year, I made two goals for myself. The first one was to try to read books from Book Riot's best books of 2018 list. One of the things I talked about is how I felt like I hadn't been reading really 2018 releases a whole lot, and if I were, they were like not the ones that everyone was talking about. Not that I really feel the pressure to always have the big books read every single year, but I sort of felt like I was out of touch with the rest of the bookish community. And so my basic idea was to try to read like two of those a month. There were 48 books on the list. I had previously read 8 of them, so there were 40 on the list that I hadn't read yet. And so I was thinking like, oh, if I read like 2 a month for the entire year, that's a pretty good amount of books that I would have had under my belt. I have not been doing that. I did 3 in January, and then I've done 0 in February and 0 in March. I didn't actually try at all to read any of them in March because I realized I didn't care. I'm not exactly sure what happened. Actually, I do know what happened, which will lead into 2019 goals. But yeah, I just stopped caring about that goal, and that was one where I realized at the beginning of March that I wasn't going to be moving forward with like trying to accomplish this thing that I made up for myself. I was okay with not going on with it. Like I'll probably read some of those books eventually because there are books on that list that I do want to read eventually, but making that a priority wasn't really that important. The second goal I had for myself was to focus on my physical TBR and to try to reduce it a little bit. So at the end of 2018, my physical TBR was around 58 books, or at least when I recorded that video, it was at 58 books. And then my goal for the first quarter was to try to get it down to 50 books. And that seems relatively reasonable, except I bought too many books and my reading significantly slowed down in the first quarter of this year. So I went and checked right before I recorded this video, and my unread TBR currently sits at 56 books. So at least I went down. That's actually one that I'm kind of disappointed in myself for. And it's not so much the fact that I think I bought too many books, but I think just my reading in general, like I just said, has slowed down significantly. I am having a very hard first quarter of the year. In December, I started a new job, and the learning curve for this job is really, really steep. It is requiring a lot of my brain space. So, before I would read on the train, and that got me a lot of reading in. I would read sometimes during my lunch breaks. I had the energy after work to read. Right now, I maybe read on my lunch breaks. I feel like a lot of times now during my lunch breaks, I'm working on other things like Book Riot stuff. In the evenings, I feel like I'm still working, and then I maybe have like 15 minutes worth of energy to put towards books, if even that. So yeah, like in March I read 5 books, which again is not a terrible number. I'm not like judging other people, but I know just for myself compared to what I was doing last year. And again, last year was kind of an extraordinary year for my reading. And by extraordinary, I don't mean like amazing. I mean just like the quantity of books that I consumed last year was a lot. And I think it was kind of like an unhealthy amount of a lot, but going from that extreme to what feels like another extreme is really jarring as well and really difficult to deal with. And like the number of books I'm reading right now isn't something I'm currently happy with, because I feel like there are so many times when I want to be reading, but I just don't have the energy for it. And it's really hindering me a lot. Like a lot of the fuel I get for being a bookish person on the internet comes from the fact that I will be reading books and I want to talk about those books. And so I will make videos, or I will talk about them on a podcast, or I will incorporate them into something I'm doing for Book Riot. And when you're not reading books, it's kind of hard to talk about books, at least for me. So yeah, I'm having a hard first quarter. So that leads to second quarter. I've been thinking a lot about what I want out of my second quarter. And part of it comes down to I'm not sure. I do still want to get my physical TBR down quite a bit, but I also kind of just want to figure out what I want. So I think what I'm going to do in the second quarter of this year, and this is kind of hard for me, is I think I'm going to take a break. I took a break in November, and honestly, it was helpful, but I don't think it was long enough. And I think the fact that I went from like taking a break in November and then immediately doing Vlogmas while also starting a new job didn't help that fact at all. So I didn't even take like all of November really off, because I spent parts of November like prepping for Vlogmas. But I think I need to like actually take a break. So I'm not going to be putting up videos on this channel in the months of April, May, and possibly June. I know for a fact I won't do it in April. Well, I'm going to kind of assess and see how I feel at the end of the month, and maybe I just have had a really hard March, because I have had a really hard March. We'll see how I feel in the end of April, and maybe I'll come back in May, but I have a feeling I'm going to take April and May off, and very possibly June as well. And after that point, I'm going to kind of figure out what's next. It's like weird, because I've been doing this for so long that I kind of don't know what this is going to look like for me, what this is going to mean for me. I don't want to say like I'm not coming back, and I don't want to say I'm definitely coming back, because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm still going to be kind of around, because I'm not like quitting Book Riot. So I'll still be making videos over there. I'll still be doing the Red or Dead podcast and things like that. And like it could just be possible that like doing all of the Book Riot stuff and all of my stuff is too much, and maybe I can handle doing some of it, but I don't know. I'm gonna be like taking a break from social media a bit. I like, when I was thinking about this prior to this point, like my feeling in the entire month of March has been like wanting to go like completely off the grid, like just completely fall off in terms of like internet presence, and just like abandon all of it. But that's also not really what I want. Like I just that's just sort of like my instinct whenever I'm really stressed out and really overwhelmed, is just to like go in the opposite direction and just hide in under my blankets. But I know that's not necessarily what I need to do. I do think I'm going to be on social media a lot less, but I don't think I'm going to disappear completely. I feel like I'm still going to be somewhat around, but I think I need to pull back quite a bit. So yeah, I've been like thinking about this as like a sabbatical almost. Like I'm recording this obviously at like the end of March, beginning of April, and we're in the middle of the Lenten season. For those of you who aren't aware, from like, you know, Lent in, well, it's in February usually, till Easter is the Lent season. And usually what you do is you give something up or change something about your daily habits in order to help you focus more on God. And so one of the things I've been doing, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me post about this. I've been trying to take like a proper Sabbath, not a proper Sabbath in terms of like the Jewish sense where you like literally do nothing, but just a day of rest for myself, because I'm not good at that and I definitely need it. But one of the things I've been realizing is that I just have too much on my plate. And even when I feel like I'm taking a day of rest, I still don't feel like I'm really resting, because I'm like stressed out about something that I need to be doing. And I think I need to take like more of a break than just a day a week. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Again, I don't have any sort of like good promises for the future or anything like that, just because I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this. Like one of the things I really want to assess is like what I want. Like I said before, I've been thinking a lot about sort of like my future and what I want out of life and things like that. And I've been thinking about like different things I want to try or do. And I'm like looking at my life right now and I'm like, I don't even know how that would possibly fit in my life, because I feel like I don't have free time at the moment. Like I can't possibly add another thing to do in my life. And so I have to remove something. So I'm going to start removing some things. This isn't the only thing I'm changing. But yeah, I think I need to start removing some things and figuring out what my priorities are and then start acting on my priorities. You know, I'm like someone who doesn't believe that you can technically like do it all. At least not do it all at the same time. You need to sort of focus on the things that are most important to you during certain seasons. You sometimes need to, or not sometimes, you do need to change and adjust as your life changes and adjusts. And so like previous parts of my life, I had less responsibilities. I had easier jobs, I suppose you could say, or jobs that, yeah, were less demanding of me. And so I had the time and energy to do all of the things that I wanted to do in terms of like side hustles and hobbies and whatnot. But things are changing now, and so I need to figure out what I do and don't want to keep in my life and what I do and don't want to be focusing my time and energy on. Because right now I feel like the things I'm focusing my time and energy on are not what I want to be focusing on. So I think that's basically it. And again, there is a chance that I will come back to it. I will say that like for the past month, booktube hasn't felt very fun for me. Again, I think March was just a hard month for me and I was really stressed out. And so doing this just felt more like an obligation, and reading kind of felt like an obligation. And I feel like in general, my channel has peaked a little bit, or maybe plateaued is a better word for it, because my energy isn't really in this channel like it used to be. I feel like engagement has dropped quite a bit. And so if I want to keep doing this, I need to reassess how I'm doing it and figure out, again, just what I want. That's what it all comes down to. So yeah, that's all I have. I don't even know how to end this video. Thanks so much to everyone for watching, whether it be your first video here or you've been watching me for all 7 years that I've been doing this. Again, all of my social media will be linked down below. So if you want to keep up with some stuff I'm doing, if I am updating anything online, it'll be probably my Instagram and or Goodreads. Those are the most likely places I'll be. And then like kind of under that is Twitter. But otherwise, I need to step back for a little bit, for a little while. Oh, I will have links also down below to like the Book Riot YouTube channel and to the Read or Dead podcast. So you can subscribe to those if you are interested in hearing me talk about books in other places, because I do talk about books in other places still. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.